Welcome to today's explainer. We're looking at something deeply unsettling today. I really want you to imagine waking up, putting on your professional gear, and commuting to a job where your only assigned task is to be entirely forgotten. It sounds like science fiction, right? Well, today we are exploring a hidden but completely legal corporate practice in Japan that might just completely change the way you think about employment and workplace psychology.
Okay, let's dive right into this. What actually happens when a company can't fire you? I mean, in a lot of places around the world, you might get a severance package or maybe go through some awkward negotiation or a long drawn-out human resources process. But according to our source material, when certain Japanese companies want someone gone, they take a completely different, much darker route. They don't confront you. Instead, they literally erase you. And that brings us to Oidashi Beya, or the Banishment Room. These are actual physical rooms, designed by companies with a very specific, honestly chilling purpose, to psychologically break their own employees through crushing monotony and absolute isolation. Our sources note that this isn't some accident or a sad byproduct of corporate restructuring. No, it is an intentional, calculated design meant to slowly wear down a human being's resilience. And the absolute most shocking fact we're reporting today? This practice is completely 100% legal.
So, let's look at the actual erasure process.
Let's move on and see how this builds, stepping away from the concept and getting into the mechanics. How exactly does a company initiate this psychological breaking of a human worker? Well, it doesn't just happen in a single meeting. It's a systematic stripping of an employee's corporate identity. Step 1, they strip away your business cards. Now, in business culture, your business card is your identity. It's your proof of belonging, your social currency, and boom, it's gone. Step 2, they move your desk to a windowless room. You are physically isolated from your peers, the sunlight, and the outside world. And finally, step 3, they replace your projects, your actual meaningful work and purpose, with total silence.
8 hours. Think about that for a second. Try to imagine the agonizing weight of sitting at a desk with absolutely no tasks, no business cards, no windows, and no colleagues to speak to. Just going through 8 hours of absolute unrelenting silence. Every single day. You're effectively a ghost haunting your own workplace, just waiting for the clock to tick down.
Which brings us to the corporate math.
Now, we've talked extensively about the heavy psychological and emotional toll this takes on a worker. But why does this happen in the first place? What's the incentive? Well, the answer lies in the cold, calculated financial logic driving this entire phenomenon. Companies aren't doing this simply for the sake of being cruel. They're doing it because of the bottom line. And this brilliantly illustrates the corporate calculation at play here. See, firing an employee in Japan can be incredibly difficult under their labor laws. And fighting a wrongful termination lawsuit, that is a massive, really expensive headache. But a resignation? A resignation costs the company absolutely nothing. It is a strictly mathematical calculation. To put it simply, it is cheaper for the company to legally erase an employee and wait for them to break, rather than officially fire them and face the financial penalties.
1. That represents 1 year. Highlighting the sheer scale of time wasted here, our sources point out that some employees don't just break immediately. Actually, some people will sit in these windowless banishment rooms, enduring the silent isolation for over a year. Imagine an entire year of your life evaporating in a silent room. Your only activity might be staring at a blank spreadsheet, or maybe repeatedly reading the exact same company manual over and over again just to pass the agonizingly slow hours. But, as the source points out, the corporate math usually works out in the company's favor, because eventually the isolation takes its toll, and most of these employees do finally quit within a year.
So, is it resignation or survival?
This brings us to a final, lingering standoff. After months and months of isolation, when the employee finally signs that piece of paper, packs up their desk, and walks out the door, how do we define what just happened? We really have to look at the contrasting perspectives. So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this final duality. The legal system calls it a voluntary resignation, a neat, clean, completely legal end to the employment contract that cost the company nothing. But the employee who just spent a year staring at the walls of a windowless room, they call it survival. They are escaping a psychological environment literally engineered to break them. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question to close out this explainer. When a legal loophole allows a company to systematically erase a person's professional existence until they have absolutely no choice but to leave, is that truly a resignation or is it an extraction? Thanks for joining me today, and I'll leave you to think on that.